I've had her many a time, literally many a time. Usually someone watching the show in the background, but now she's coming up to the forefront. She is writer, murder plotter extraordinaire, A.F. Stewart.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm author, artist, apparently now a media manager at Crystal Lake Publishing, soon to be
Which
Crystal
is
Lake Entertainment.
congratulations.
I also do podcasts. Well, I should say sorry. I do show hosting. Otherwise, Joe Compton will get mad at me.
Okay.
I host the Words That Kill over at Go Indie Now, and I do my own Between the Pages book chat, and I'll be doing stuff like that for Crystal Lake too. So,
It's all good, man. I'll call you a podcaster. I'm cool with that. Joe's not here. It's my shit, damn it.
oh, Joe gets testy though if you call a video show a podcast. So,
Well, but video shows can be podcasts. It can be both. It can be
well,
audio, video.
take it up with Joe. He's the boss. He's my boss. I just do what he says.
Yeah, okay. Hope he pays you well, Miss Non-podcaster you. It's all good. But congrats, man. I'm in a mixed bag. Like I just escaped a living situation that was kind of erratic, right? My landlord went batshit, so I decided to do the wise thing and run away, for lack of a better term.
Yes, I think that's always wise when your landlords are start acting weird.
Well, he always was a little bit eccentric, but eccentric is one thing I can put up with eccentric. It was just like 2 months he just started going off on like lots of things happened in 2 months that were just weird. And now there was a different mindset when it started because I was already leaving. Right? It's like I'm leaving. I'm not. I'm leaving the city. Do I really want to go? And the problem was, it was just short enough that wasn't gonna be that long, but long enough where it's like that's gonna be a long time dealing with this asshole.
Mm. Yeah,
So it was
life is short. Don't deal with assholes.
well that's what actually that's the biggest lesson I learned from doing this was, you know what, it really doesn't matter when situation gets to that kind of thing. You just walk. You just walk. It's not worth even if it's grief. All right, things have a tendency to work out sometimes. So and that's what happened here. The moment I said, okay, I'm out, I found a place in 3 days. I was moving for like a month and a half anyway, so I mean, all my stuff was out pretty much.
Yeah.
So it was just a matter of just finishing up and walking out the door, which
Yeah.
was in itself kind of strange too, because it was like no one noticed, and I'm like,
yeah, that's definitely a place to leave if no one notices you're leaving.
yeah, no, it was just weird, right? Because I wasn't hiding it. I wasn't like advertising it openly, like, hey, I'm out, blah 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 blah. No, I didn't say a word, but I wasn't hiding it either, right? It was just either the most incredible timing ever in terms of like no one was there, but the big landlord saw me carry stuff out the door, so it's not like. I don't know. It was weird. It was just weird. Right? That whole 2 months was just like, that's an experience I will hopefully never have to go through again. Right?
Yeah. There's lots of
Right.
experiences we've hope never to have to go through again, I think.
Yeah.
Our life.
Oh yeah. That's the thing, right? I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, this is the closest I've ever come to murdering somebody I know on a page. Next chapter I'm writing out. Like, so I'm doing my Patreon, and I'm releasing a novel right now quietly on Patreon as well. It's just kind of like it's not a full final draft, but it's like right as I go kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not modding it too much between sets. Obviously, when I get to drafts 2, 3, 4, it's going to be a much different story. But I figure, it's $1. You get to read something before anybody else gets to read it, right? And before I release it or do anything with it, and yeah. So in chapter 17, I introduced the warden of this prison in the past. It's very similar to the landlord. And I'm literally going to make him eat shit, dino shit, in chapter 19. I'm not vindictive at all.
Yeah. Well, this is why people should not be mean to authors. It's like the saying says, "Don't be mean to me, or I'll put you in my book and kill you very badly."
I didn't say I killed him though.
Well, no, you wouldn't kill him. Horror
You would.
writers would. Yeah.
Well, no, no. See. I keep telling horror writers, see, you're releasing the wrong kind of horror. Because if you go to someone and goes, "I want to kill you in my book," they'll go, "Me, hey John, what's up, buddy?" Right? Me.
Mm.
Right? They'll be like, me. No. You make them erotic fan fiction.
Yeah, I don't write erotic fan fiction. I don't write erotic anything. I'm very bad at romance. Although one of my horror books does have weird erotic undertones to it that I haven't
They
released
were
that one yet.
they were getting
But
off on killing things.
no, it's just like this weird love triangle. I don't write love triangles either, so suddenly I'm suddenly writing all these things I don't write, which is weird, but I think my muse got drunk during the pandemic.
Yeah,
And
whatever.
I mean, honestly though, I've written love triangles, which I hate. Erotic undertones in my horror novel, which I don't do romance, and I'm currently writing a paranormal cozy mystery, and I don't do cozy anything.
I could see no see I could see you do paranormal cozy. Like that's not I don't think that's out of your wheelhouse, right? It's not something I would expect you to do regularly, but I don't think that's out of your
No, it's
wheelhouse.
not in my wheelhouse. I mean, I I read mysteries growing up, and I watch a lot of mystery movies, and I do watch those Hallmark mystery things, um, yeah, I mean, I can write it. It's just not what I expected to suddenly come into my head. Yes, go write a book set in Nova Scotia about a witch and who runs a bakery and solves a mystery. Yeah, so
Well, I'm writing right now in my novel on Patreon. It's I never expected to write a lesbian love story, but I did. It's kind of it is a love story, and I know it's not. I'm not gonna spoil things. I know where it's going, and I understand. I kind of understand why I'm writing it, but on the same time, it's like I never expected to do this in a million years. Just it just came out,
yeah.
right? And it was just like okay, right? And but I know why. I know like I have this theory. I have this general theory in life that we write stories that tie to our story, right? Like our
Hmm.
personal story. So maybe dare I say, maybe the reason you're doing all these things, Miss Anita, is maybe you're a little happier these days.
No,
No,
no.
no.
Last year was a total dumpster fire. So
Well, last year was the
yeah, pretty much everything that could go wrong last year went wrong. This year's going much better.
yeah,
But all these things that I've been writing happened last year. So maybe I'm just trying to make some happy place else. I don't know, maybe. 'Cause, oh yeah, last year was horrible.
yeah. Okay, last year was okay. Was okay. Kind of reestablishing myself, and I've just been pursuing my passions the whole time. I'm going to miss doing this version of the show on a regular basis, but I'm really excited about the new version of the show I'm doing. If you had told me I'd be making film on a regular basis, I'd have laughed at you.
Yeah, if somebody told me a few years ago I'd be doing this, I'd have told them they were crazy. Because I mean, in real life, I have terrible stage fright.
Hmm.
So actually getting up in front of a camera and hosting something even would have been absolutely unimaginable a few years ago. But I started doing one panel and then another panel, and I'm realizing as I'm doing the
Yeah,
video doesn't bother me. Doing the
yeah.
videos doesn't bother me at all. Getting up in front of people, I'm still scared to death. Doing
Okay.
telephone interviews, say stuff like that, you know, those radio shows where you do the telephone stuff, that still makes me nervous. Putting on the headphones, get in front of a camera and doing one of these shows, nothing.
See, I'm at that point where I'm comfortable doing everything in public. I have mastered the art of making an ass of myself in public. That was because at a very, very young age, I had one of the worst things that could happen to me do. So now the gratitude is now it can only go up from here. So I don't have I get butterflies, but it's not like they're not like fear inducing choking like I just get like you get this like little I get this little flutter, like I get nervous, I get excited, but it's like the stage doesn't frighten me, and it no longer does. I will go up on a karaoke stage. I will watch this. I will literally kill the song on the air. It'll die, and I'll be fine with it. And then sometimes I'll go on the. Sometimes I'll go up and. But like I said, I got no problems with it. Like I frozen in public, yeah. But I've done this for so long. I realize that you really can't make a mistake up there, if that makes sense. There's no mistake, really, right? Like you just they're here to see you, and that's a wonderful thing. So you already got them. So just have fun with it.
Yeah, tell that to my brain. My brain doesn't listen.
Your brain.
Yeah.
Okay, listen to Nina's brain. Listen, you lying to yourself. This is from
Is
from
this
a
true?
guy. You are lying to yourself. And here's the truth is, see, you are the person, not just you, brain, but the person is an amazing person, and people would want to see them just because of who they are and thus who you are. And you got to just accept that. And when you accept that, you will always have butterflies. And that's good. And when the
Yeah.
butterflies are gone, you should walk away. You should do something different. It's kind of actually why I'm walking away from the Twitch show. I've done 500 episodes of this already. Like I'm happy I've done it, but I'm ready to do something else.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Because, sometimes things get boring. You just want something new.
I'm never bored chatting with people.
Well,
It's
yeah,
just
I mean, but bored was the wrong. Maybe routine would be a better word when things get routine.
yeah. It just when it gets to I mean, sometimes routine is a good thing. There's one it's good, but also with the world being out in the open, I want to go out and do real adventure stuff. Why would I don't mind. Again, I'm always going to be somewhat tied to a keyboard because of what I do, and I accept that. But when I'm not doing those things, why would I want to spend extra time at the keyboard? If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
I've just kind of hit that point where I want to go out and do stuff,
Mm.
chase girls every once in a while, maybe catch them, right? Have fun. Like, have fun. It's a big whole wide world out there, and yeah, I cannot at this point in my life. Just where I've hit is I don't want to just be cooped up in a space. I'm not ready to spend the rest of my life. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Of just, going to a job, coming home and just chilling.
Mm. Yeah. Well, some people like adventure, and some
Yeah.
people don't like adventure,
Yeah.
and
And
some
some
people
people
are in between. So,
yeah, and most people are I think most people are honestly in between.
mm.
I'm just ready for the adventure part of my life and before I go back maybe a little bit somewhere in between. But I keep telling people I will be a supervillain by the time I'm 50 years old. Complete with obnoxious red cape. I'm going for the Spawn obnoxious red cape in my supervillain costume.
Yeah.
I just think that well, you can be obnoxious in a bunch of different ways when you're a bad guy because people kind of expect it. But for me, that's the secret, folks. Total, like um, long, useless red cape that I need a subordinate just to carry. I think
Yeah.
that suits my ego just perfectly.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to go for the cape, you may as well go for the cape.
Exactly. It's either that or talk to myself in the third person. To Josh would never do such a thing. It's like, nah, I'm not that guy. There's a guy that's made millions of dollars doing it that way, but that's not me. So, but hey, what can you do? So I mean, so you're employed again. Does that feel strange?
Um, kind of.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm still doing the stuff I'm doing now, only I'm doing it for somebody else. So
Yeah.
it's sort of like, yes, I'm doing the stuff I was doing. Now someone's paying me for it. So yay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were freelancing, weren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. And I was doing, I mean, the whole interview stuff was pretty much just me trying to help out other authors. That's how it started anyway. So
Yeah. No, I get that. No, I started that way too, and then I said I can turn this into a living, and it's been an up and down road,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it to be easy, but I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of hoping to be swimming in $1 million by now too. A little bit, you know.
yeah, I think everybody thinks that when they start out. Yes, we'll be so successful.
Yeah, well, but I've learned. I think it can. I legitimately think it can be done.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a. I don't really think it's beyond the pale for anybody. I just think the real secret is it's learning the habits, like understanding like the little steps you got to take, and learning the habits um to succeed. That doesn't mean I'm just going to guarantee myself $1 million, but it definitely can guarantee myself a living, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it's the long game too, because I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
you have to build your experience, you have to build your network, you have to build this, that, and the next thing, and it's like with the art I've been doing, like with my Zazzle shops and stuff. I mean, I'm not really making a lot of money on them yet, but I'm building my skills. I'm building my products on there, getting the marketing, which yeah is like totally annoying, but something you gotta do.
I'm enjoying marketing more and more as I do it.
Mm,
Because I understand it for what it actually is. And
yeah,
it's like and maybe it's because I've become a much more of a hustler in the last 3 years. I mean, that there's definitely an aspect of it, but what I understand about it is marketing is very much just it's a game of human relationships and storytelling.
yeah,
That's what it's about, really is. And I think it's actually good practice for authors because what we are really trying to do is build connections. Like that's what we're legitimately trying to do. And we don't do that. We can come up with these cool stories to tell people, but if we don't know how to connect to people, the story almost doesn't matter. I think like that's one something I just kind of realized, in the sense that, yeah, it's cool. I love writing like the stuff I write, but what's important to me now is can I bridge a real human connection
yeah,
in the story, because that's what people are going to pay for. They're not paying for the fact that I'm playing croquet in the underworld with Jason of the Argonauts and Alice One. They're paying for the journey Alice is on and the parts of themselves they see in her.
yeah,
That's what
and
they're paying for,
yeah.
right?
I think that's what most authors don't understand either. Because I mean, you really have to target your audience too. It's not just making the connection, but you have to make the connection with the right audience.
Yeah.
Because if you're selling an epic journey of fantasy, you're not wanting to be selling it to people who want outer space stories.
Not usually, no. There are exceptions,
Well,
but not
yeah, I
usually.
mean, yeah, there's always crossover. There's
Yeah.
always crossover. That's the thing. But you want to do your main targeting to your audience, and then branch it out slowly into the wider and try and bring in the new people or the people who might want to try something new. But yeah, but that's what and that's I mean that's why Amazon changed all its categories rules lately too, is because authors were doing this throw everything at the wall approach to categories, and they got burned for it.
Yeah, no, because like I said, it's okay. Like I said, my Alice story, it's poetry.
Hmm.
It's a mashup, but it's an Alice in Wonderland. So my primary target should be people that like Alice in Wonderland. That's my primary target.
Yeah,
My secondary target should be, uh, again, people like poetry, right? And that translates to theater kids. That translates to like college students. People that are looking for something a little different or exploring things. It's usually
yeah,
like the college years. That's my audience.
yeah,
So
especially people who like story poetry or the epic poetry sort
yeah.
of thing that just tell a story and not just like the short poems and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a very specific niche I hit. So those are my targets. I don't. I mean, I would love it if a science fiction guy loved my story, but again, I'm not expecting that because that's like cool. I got something bonus or something. No, it's more like you got to understand who you are, who your readers are. But what I would tell people today is you don't have to just go after them the conventional ways either, right? I mean, yes, there's conventions. Yes, there's like, the category stuff and the marketing and the copy stuff here. But it's also like, okay, for example, let's say you wrote a story about dinosaurs. Do you know where I'd be going? Museums.
Yeah.
Because it's such a natural tie in that I'd be like, why is nobody going here? If I'm writing NASA's outer space stuff, I'd be looking for every society, like space society in the city, the country, and go, okay, I think you guys would take this shit. Right? Like you have to kind of think in those. You gotta go a little outside the box, I think, today, because the one thing I've said this on many a podcast. I know you've listened to me say this many a time. Publishing has decentralized.
Yeah.
So the path to finding these audiences is not as cut and dry as it used to be. So
Yeah.
that is where I think writers have to take the most chances,
Mm.
right? You can figure out who you think people will like it, and maybe you'll get somewhat surprised on the way. But the real secret is okay. How do I reach these people? Well, they all go into their own little corners of the universe. You have to find where those corners of the universe are now. I
Yeah.
think that's the big difference between now and in the past.
Yeah, and a lot of it these days is age demographics too, because
Yeah.
you got to target the YA at the younger crowd. You got to target this particular genre at this particular age group, and yeah, that's the thing that gets me. It's all the math,
Math.
no math. I mean, I'm good at math, but it's not my favorite thing. But all the data and the crunching and the numbers and the
Yeah, yeah. You'd think that it wouldn't be part of the job. It's like I skipped math to do this. No, no, that's not. That's
no,
not how this
no,
works. You
no, I
actually,
didn't. I didn't skip math. I'm good at math. Just don't enjoy it at all. So, I mean, yeah. I mean,
I
math is
was,
math is a good thing. I admire mathematicians. Just not my favorite thing in the world. So,
I did too. My favorite mathematicians are musicians, though. They really don't realize it, but they actually are really good at math. Most of them, they just don't. It's not something that's like they just approach it from a very different angle. I like that angle. It's fun,
mm,
right? But no, like it's just like I said. That's the work. That's the
yeah,
real work of being a writer or an artist of any kind. Is you have to understand who you're trying to reach, right? And every series can be a completely different audience too.
yeah. Especially if you're writing multiple genres.
Yeah, I mean, there are authors who have made a career being able to do that. Like, the best example I know of is Dan Simmons, right? That's the best example. But again, and there are a few others that do it too. Isabel Allende, a few others that have done the job really well. But again, they don't start. Everybody that does it tends to start like okay, they start in horror, for example, then they move quietly into paranormal, then they move quietly into science fiction, then they move quietly into fantasy, then they go into then they start moving into thriller. I mean, I'm not saying that's the only branching way to do it, but usually it's like they're taking just a tiny step away from what they do.
No, I don't take tiny steps. I started it actually. I actually started writing mysteries, but all my mysteries ended up being fantasy stories. So I went into fantasy. I wrote fantasy. Then I went into horror just by accident. Totally did not set out to be a horror writer at all. Just fell into that by accident. Then I started publishing. Well, I actually started publishing my poetry first, so the poetry, and then I threw the horror into the poetry, and then I just I and on my blog I'm publishing just all sorts of weird, weird things.
That's okay. And it's
Oh,
like
that's the place I had the most fun though, is because I do the drabbles every week on my blog, and you're gonna get some weeks you're gonna get straight up horror, some weeks you're gonna get fantasy, some weeks you're gonna get the Frankie and Johnny series, which is basically virtual reality weirdness. This is
I,
this is
I
where the zombie penguins, the zombie cows, and currently we have a crossover over on the blog between the time sheep and Frankie and Johnny with feral chickens.
nice.
Yeah. So
Chickens are why would you do that? Chickens are assholes anyways. They don't need to be feral.
that was actually Go Indie Now's fault. I was watching one of their shows, Indie Mayhem. Yeah, it was Indie Mayhem show, and they were talking about chickens because Ron, who hosts the show, keeps chickens.
Yep.
So they were talking about chickens and ferrets and feral chickens and things. And I said, well, I'm just going to write a story about it. So I stuck the feral chickens in with the timesheet, brought back Dr. Stein from a previous timesheet storyline. And they've been pretty much fighting an apocalypse. And they ended up pressing the big red button. And if anybody has read the Frankie and Johnny series, they know what the big red button means. So they ended
Everybody.
up they ended up in Frankie and Johnny's world.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who presses a big red button in Frankie and Johnny opens a dimensional rift. So they ended up in Frankie and Johnny's world, and then Snowball not Snowball. I keep calling him Snowball lately for some reason. But Fluffy the guinea pig decided he wanted to ride a feral chicken. So that's basically what the story is now. So
Okay. In my virtual reality movie, I have a unicorn that farts rainbows in advertisements. They actually are advertisements. I actually made him a spam bot. So I thought that anything that would survive the apocalypse in the internet, if the internet had an apocalypse, I'm just going to bet on what would survive the apocalypse here. Cockroaches would be the last thing standing, right? In our world, if the world went kablooey. So if a cockroach would survive here, spam would survive the internet. And the poor alien race that would discover our stuff, it's like they were sex crazed maniacs.
yes, all the porn bots and the Chat GPT bots and
yeah, ChatGPT it's still relatively new, so it won't be as many of those right now. If the apocalypse happened tomorrow, right, apocalypse happened tomorrow, they would say ChatGPT. What they'd release chat, they would theorize that ChatGPT would have ended the world just based on our spam.
yeah,
There isn't as much of it.
yeah. I actually did a Drabble series about that, sort of a futuristic museum where people went through and this museum tour was going, and they were talking to the children, and they took pieces of our world, and then I just tried to. The tour guide was saying all these weird things of what they actually were because they didn't know what they were. So yeah, that was kind of fun.
I think I did this in my poetry series with with Mirror World. Was I actually introduced the idea of a Pez dispenser in the post-apocalyptic world? What would that be to someone 100 years from now? Right? Because I mean, but it also was probably the coolest thought I've ever had. Like honestly, one of the coolest thoughts I've ever had was like you have this Pez dispenser, and you're like, all this stuff we're thinking about. We're thinking about like what is, what isn't. That's just maybe a once upon a time in a society long, long gone. It was a kid asking a dad, "Hey, can I buy this toy?" And I like that thought actually. And so now when I look at artifacts for religious purposes, I'm just gonna say 9 out of 10, they probably were some kind of cool toy.
Yeah. Well, I recently read an article. The Romans actually had dice towers.
Yes.
Yeah. Which I thought was fun because it's like I could imagine them playing a Roman version of D&D.
I could see it.
Yeah,
I could totally see it. The Romans actually were very creative. So I could imagine their own version of D&D.
Yeah, they could have the barbarians. The bards would be like they'd have some version of bard, Roman scribes or playwrights or whatever. I forget what they called them in Rome. But and the barbarians would definitely be there because they had barbarians in Rome. You'd have the Roman soldiers would be
paladins.
Yeah.
They'd be the equivalent of a paladin. You'd have thieves and rogues because there's always a thief and a rogue. Wizard would be interesting. I don't think it would not be.
It would probably be the temple priests. I would say temple priests would be the wizard.
Yeah. That would probably be it. let's see. Let's think about this. They would have. So they still would have some of the same, like that they would have. Okay, depending on which era of Rome,
This is true.
Constantine or because pre-Constantine or post-Constantine would be slightly different.
Yeah.
But pre-Constantine, you would have like the gods as their versions of the Greek gods. I actually, you know what I think they would have done? This is what I think they would have done. I think they would have made the Roman gods their pantheon of good, and they would make the Greek gods the pantheon of evil, like an upside down version of them. Of right? Hey, if you're gonna steal an idea, you might as well just go all in, right? It's just like ours is the good one, and theirs is the shit. That's right. We're gonna lie. We're just gonna outright lie.
Yeah. Well, that was one thing the Romans were good at, was stealing stuff.
Well,
The
yeah.
Ro-
Well, no. Every empire
oh, this
steals
is true.
stuff.
Yes, lots of people, but I mean, the Romans really made it in art, though. They really did. They were
Well,
very good at it. They
yeah,
were
because
very good at engineering and taking things from other cultures and making it part of their own.
yeah, that because that was just because it's good business.
Yeah, it is
Like
good
no
business.
no. I mean no. I mean honestly, this is where the United States picked this up from.
Mm,
Actually, the Rome was smart. They realized that if they were going to do it, like they want to be big and last a long time, they wanted to take away the reasons anybody would fight them. That's
yeah.
why they built the roads the way they built them. Was
Mhm.
it's like, okay, we are providing everybody now easier access to communicate with each other, which is actually a brilliant way to make it more difficult to to separate from Rome. It's not impossible, right? The way to destroy all civilizations is the same way, and that's ultimately having corrupt leadership.
Yeah.
Um, but in the end, like but what made it like they were smart. They would go in, they would meet these cultures. They wouldn't take from those cultures. They wouldn't, right? But they would take from them, but not in a way where they would completely eradicate them. They would just like, you know what, you can do you. Just pay
Yeah.
tribute to
And
us.
then
Which
they also held out carrots. You can become Roman citizens and get all the perks.
yeah, no, absolutely. Well, that's just again, that's good
Yeah.
business.
So,
Right? That's just good.
no,
That's just
no,
good.
I agree.
That's
The
just good.
Romans were very smart. I mean, ultimately,
Yeah.
politics was their downfall, but when is it? It isn't.
Well, no, well, what happens? I've said this on many a show. When you're like you can look at our culture today. When your leadership gets to the point where they have disconnected from the people they're
Mm,
serving, we're at the end. Like that, whether we realize it or not, we are at the end. Now, I'm not saying we're going to, like, this one will be different in the sense that I don't know. I don't know how or why. I don't know how it falls the same way. I might just fragment just over a period of time, but eventually, like you can see now, the system's breaking. You said it
mm,
yourself, the prices of everything are going up. There's like we've hit a point of unsustainability now, right? And we're a country that honestly should not be having the price increases we have because there's honestly no reason for them,
yeah,
right? We don't have the population to have that kind of demand. We have plenty of space and resources. Everything here theoretically should be dirt cheap, but it's not. And that is a strange
well,
um
the corporations aren't going to lower the prices as long as people thought keep paying them, and that's the bottom line of it. If
sure.
you pay for it, they'll keep the price high. Because
Exactly. That's
yeah,
true.
if the prices want the prices lower, you have to say, "No, we're not paying that anymore. Sorry."
And the thing is, we've become again a culture of convenience.
Mm,
That's where we're at right now. But there's going to come a point where the convenience we can't afford it, and then
yeah,
what happens, right? So that's where we're going. But I mean, and that's what I mean. But this is what has undone every empire. It's done Rome. It's undone.
yeah,
It undid Egypt. Lasted the longest, I think, of all of them. But
yeah,
even it undid Egypt. It undid Greece. It's undid the medieval stuff. It's undone everything, right? It's just this is just part of how it goes. An empire eventually starves itself when it stops, when it no longer keeps to its principles, which isn't which is ironic that something that small can undo everything.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's kind of funny about Egypt though, because Cleopatra, in a lot of ways, she might have pulled Egypt back had she come along earlier. But
Maybe.
maybe, I mean, yeah, I mean, she might have just prolonged the inevitable. But she actually did try and help the people and help the economy, and like the earlier pharaohs did. Although even the earlier pharaohs, some of them were.
Hey, listen. There, every culture has an "I'm the king" moment.
Yeah.
Every the biblical example of this is are David and Solomon, both of them, right? They're like when you have that, when you're given, like, here's the thing: when you're given that much power and that much success, you're going to find something you're going to have an excess of, because you have access to everything, and we're human,
Yeah.
right? That's just the truth,
But
right?
yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it gives you excuse to be a complete pig forever and ever and ever and ever. But look,
But
I don't bat 1,000 now. So I'm not going to bat 1,000 in that position. The only thing I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try not to fuck it up too badly.
yeah.
I just recognize, right? I just
Yeah,
recognize that.
it's funny though, because I mean, some of Egypt's excesses, like the pyramids, actually worked in the country's favor by stimulating the economy. So it's weird.
No, that's not what I mean by excesses. I'm talking
Mm.
like
Yeah.
personal weaknesses. Like having okay, I don't think like art's an excess. I don't think yes. I don't yes, absolutely.
No, the pyramid, the actual pyramid building was fascinating though, because it took Egypt.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, like the Giza pyramids and the larger ones. I mean, the pyramids have been around for building pyramids have been around for like way longer than the Giza pyramids too. But the evolution on how the pyramids were built actually stimulated the economy, because it
Yes.
employed the entire population in
Absolutely.
building the pyramids. So they actually became better from building the tomb for their king.
Well, it's no different than I sidekick at the Saddle Dome.
Mm.
Okay? Saddle Dome, if you sit there, is an excessive thing for people to basically throw parties every so often. Right? If you really sit there and think about it, that doesn't matter what the sporting event is or the concert, it's a party. That's basically what it is. But it employs it's the Saddle Dome is the third largest employer in the city. It's huge. It's a big part of
Yeah.
the economy here. So yeah, no, like those things aren't like people go, well, they're useless. Like, no, they're not. There's
No.
a lot those things do draw money. They just do it in a way you're not anticipating, right? But again, it's that human. We're not robots. We don't just want to do a job and come home, unless apparently you live here. I don't know, but I mean, but but it's one of those things where you have to understand, like, some of these things are to your benefit. When I'm talking excesses, I'm talking like, okay, I'm not perfect. If I had the money where pretty much every woman under the sun was looking at me, I would probably indulge a little bit. I'm human, right? Right? I'd have access to drugs and alcohol and taste and wonders and things I can't even imagine, right? And there's a natural curiosity to explore some of those things, right? There just is, and I don't think that's entirely terrible. I think what happens is here's the thing: if I have it all, right, the biggest thing I have to be careful of is if I ever get to the point where I have it all, I have to always remember that in an odd way, it's mine, but it isn't mine. It's here for now for me to use. I'm gonna be have some excess here and there, I'm sure, but because again, I'm human. I'm not gonna bat 1,000, but but I'm hopefully I'm gonna recognize, like, I'm not gonna shoot myself in the foot to such an extent that this potential blessing doesn't become a curse.
Yeah.
Right. And I think what happens with cultures and societies ultimately is like, okay, Justin Trudeau is a second generation prime minister. If you sit there and think about it, his family is rich, and they've been rich for a very, very, very long time. His children will also be rich, right? And they right now, at some point in that journey, right, is going to be taken for granted where that money comes from. It's also going to be taken for granted where they sit in the world. And when that happens, right, they're not going to have any clue of where that blessing goes. And if it suddenly disappears, what do? Right?
Yeah.
That's the kind of excess I'm talking about. It's not, and by the way, I'm not just picking on any one family. I'm just using that one because we know that family. Anybody that has worked their ass off to get something wants to keep it. And that's not entirely that's not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. I mean, excess in itself isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's excess used to hurt other people when it becomes a bad thing.
Yep. To
When it
stagnate
becomes
change.
when it becomes so self-centered that you're not seeing the big picture anymore, you're just seeing you.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually probably the most accurate way to put it. Like, yeah, like the fact that we have billionaires in the world isn't the problem. It's the nature of how that wealth works currently that is the problem. And as long as now, again, nothing lasts forever, right? It just nothing lasts forever. But that's our downfall. If you want to look at our downfall, but it's the downfall of every other culture as well, right? The ones that last the longest usually have a balance somewhere for everybody to benefit. And the moment that starts to disappear and erode, that's when changes slowly start to occur.
Yeah, that's when you get revolutions, which is in itself not necessarily a good thing either. So,
Well, I mean, like I said, I don't really want to go into deep dive into like the protests in 2021, 2022. But one thing I will say is it disrupts order. And the biggest thing I learned about Canadians in general, we love our order.
yeah,
Do we love no that's the thing. Like, we love order. Like, that's
yeah.
the
It's
thing
like,
about Canadians.
yeah. I mean, well, heck, we vote our politicians on as the least likely to upset the order.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And but like, we like order. That is our prime morality. I realize that, like, after watching that thing, it's like that is for most Canadians the epitome of morality, is the willing to keep the status quo going. And that is why I think Canadians are very rarely revolt, because it's like it's not orderly to revolt. Revolutions, protests, they're messy. They are messy. Strikes are messy, right? And that's a very that's just a reality of things. And that's why I think Canadians tend to like fight that stuff.
Yeah. We prefer to discuss our problems.
Sometimes we
Or taking them out to the hockey rink. So
or if it's a little too complex, we ignore them sometimes to our we ignore them to our
yeah. We'll
detriment.
fix that one tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll fix that one tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes. Nah, we'll just fix it tomorrow. And how did it get bigger all of a sudden? Right, yeah, right. That's the thing. That's the thing I've learned. Like, that is I think the big difference. Like, from a personality perspective, the average American, the average Canadian, that is the biggest difference.
Yeah.
The American doesn't care about chaos. The American will probably cause it if it doesn't get their way, right? And that sounds childish on one hand, but on the other hand, it's good. The American will stand up for themselves. The Canadian will be like, well, are my problems worth it?
Yeah, it's like, is it worth the drama? Really?
Yeah.
It's like, if it's worth the drama, we will fight. But if it's not, it's like, no, just
Yeah,
go away.
I'm just gonna go 50-50 on that one. It depends
Yeah,
on the Canadian. It depends on the Canadian.
this is true.
You're right. It depends on the Canadian. Some Canadians will never fight. Some will be like, well, I mean, me, like, say, 2 months with the sketch lord. I should have bailed the first month. Like, honestly, I should have bailed, but I was like, is my problems worth it? Right. The first month, because I was leaving, it's like I said, I'll stomach this a little while longer. and I shouldn't have. I honestly should have walked a month sooner. Right? He was starting to be an asshole and pushing boundaries at that point. I should have just said, "Okay, you win. I'll leave. Like no drama. Just walk." But it disrupts order,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well,
That
maybe we're inherently lazy.
that too. Hey, listen. We gotta get uncomfortable, right? We gotta get uncomfortable if we want to change
Yeah.
things, right? So that's something that's something I've learned, right? You got to, if you want to change your lot in life, you got to be like, okay, you got to put yourself on a limb somewhere, somehow, some way. Um, like, like I said, honestly, like living in both countries can learn from each other a lot, right? Canadians can learn to be a little bit more ruthless and assertive from the Americans, and the Americans could learn from us. You know what? Not everything's worth bitching about. Not right.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
right? That there is a like again. There's two sides to that coin, right? And that's the thing. Like sometimes you have to fight, and I think that's a real thing. Most of the time, though, you're right. We can just talk about it. Let's just talk and see if we can figure this out.
Yeah. So, but it is kind of fun as a Canadian to sit back and watch the American drama sometimes. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, 'cause it's not ours.
Yeah, it's not
That's
ours.
not ours.
Yeah, it's like yeah. Oh, they're fighting across the border again. Let's get the popcorn.
Mhm. Like I said, there's like okay, and I said this, barring anyone actually being seriously hurt.
Yeah.
Two things are kind of hilarious to watch from a distance: are car crashes and people being arrested.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah, right. They're both funny, right? It's as long as it's not you. If it's you, it's not fun at all, right? But if it's not you, oh
Oh
man,
yeah.
it can be hilarious. I remember. So I'll tell you a fun Saddledome story. Right, and it was hilarious because to me it was. I mean, I've never seen such a bigger bloat of hot air in my life. So I'm going up. I'm doing my job. I work the warehouse. Basically, I supply all the concession stands with their booze, their food, whatever. Like me and the whole crew there, we all do that. So we're doing that, and often the distance, often this guy starts getting belligerent to a customer service person. And I mean, he's getting hasty, he's getting hot, he's getting violent. Then the security guards show up, and I've never seen such a bigger turn, like 360. Like they're throwing him out because they're like that. There's basically a policy that they throw. They're like, if you do go that far, you're done. You're done. We're not dealing with you. Goodbye. He was like, please don't throw me out. Please don't throw. Like he went completely the other way. Right. That was funny. That was funny. Also, not how I would have done it, but that was funny, right? And again, it's easy for me to say that because I'm watching it. Now, in the process, let's say they're throwing me out, I'd be like, okay, maybe like I'm going out. This sucks, right? It would completely suck if it was me. If I was the belligerent asshole, I mean, I might have enjoyed the first 10 seconds, but picking on a teenager basically that's just trying to do her job is just not cool. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do try when, not so much maybe on online, but I do try with the customer service in person to be polite and nice. But sometimes that Amazon customer service though tries my patience really.
I've had
Not
actually
the book stuff. I've never had a problem with as a customer of Amazon, buying stuff. As an author with Amazon customer service, that's where my patience gets tested.
I've had like see for me, I've had a great experience with them though. This is the thing. I've
Well,
had
then
good.
you're lucky. You're one of the lucky ones
Well,
because
yeah, no, but I think it's just my approach too.
mm,
I find I'm very polite. Like I'm very polite
yeah,
even
well,
when
I am
I'm
at the beginning.
yeah. Oh, no, I can lose my patience if I see something very again, I'm human. I'm going to lose my
Yeah.
patience if I'm getting some repetitious bullshit. But so one of my pre-orders, I forgot to send my I wasn't really forget. I forgot it was that day. So next day I was like, go to send. Oh, I can't do pre-orders anymore on Amazon. So I contact them very nicely about it, and they're like, okay. And I explained it. I fucked up. It's like, this is on me. Can I get another chance? And they were really good
Yeah,
about
I
it.
mean, now that wouldn't. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay,
Okay,
that
if
was
I
that was
made a
my
mistake, if I make the mistake, then I'm fine. I own it, right?
yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
I'll take whatever consequence because it's my mistake. It's when they screw up and they won't listen to the fact that they have screwed up.
No, well, no.
Because okay, this is the latest one they did.
Okay.
I've had this happen a couple of times. I mean, I will grant them most of the time they're very good. They take care of things. Just sometimes they just lose their mind. That their brain cells stop working or something. I don't know. But anyway, I published. I was having problems getting my drafted digital paperbacks to show on Amazon, and apparently they've actually have an issue with that, which drafted digital has recently come out and said so. So okay, I couldn't get anywhere with either company as to why it was happening. So I thought, well, I'll just republish as a Kindle paperback, no problem. It'll be on Amazon. So I did that, and the review team comes back with a copyright problem because I need to show them the publisher has reversed the rights and given them back to me. And I'm going, what? Because I've only ever self-published this book. So I politely replied back, this book is self-published. Drafted Digital is a self-publishing platform. There are no rights to be reverted. It took me a week to convince them that Digital was a self-publishing platform. Okay. They finally conceded the point, though, and let the book publish. But I mean,
Yeah.
this is sometimes how they act. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I haven't had that. See, when I publish my books, like I haven't done. I'm not. When I publish my physical books, I kind of already made the decision not to use Amazon for that.
Mm,
Right.
yeah.
There's some. Because I've noticed, like, one, they don't always. I've seen this with some of the books delivered. They don't always. Their quality control sometimes is
Yeah.
junk. Sometimes.
Uh,
Sometimes.
yeah.
Right.
I generally don't use Amazon for wide distribution. Like
Mhm.
I'll either use Drafted Digital or Ingram Spark, and I'll probably be using Ingram Spark in future because they've just gotten away with their fees. No more fees.
Yeah.
So, because they're the best distribution, Ingram Spark. But for selling paperbacks directly on Amazon, I do use the KDP print there because it's the easiest way to get them to show them on Amazon.
Yeah, no. I get it. It's dealing with the beast and the monster,
Mm,
right? So I understand that. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it more from, like, my goal now with my books is actually to sell as directly as possible.
mm.
That requires
Yeah,
me to have my shit far more together than it currently is.
yeah,
But I think that's honestly that's the real money in this,
yeah.
right?
I see more and more authors going for direct sales, and that's the way indie publishing's headed, if you ask me. That it's going to go. I mean, we're not going to get rid of the retailers, but you're going to find more and more indie authors, especially
Well,
the ones that are making the money, selling directly on their platforms. They're going to be selling special editions. They're going to be selling signed copies. They're going to be selling merch.
yeah,
I'm seeing it more and more in the circles.
yeah, because honestly, that's where the money is. And
Yeah,
also, that's where the money is. First off, second, these platforms can all disappear overnight. I think the one thing about this is the biggest thing I got from the pandemic with all the censorship stuff, with all the social media stuff. Like, you can see it, these social media platforms are becoming more erratic. So, all of them. Twitter
yeah,
is the biggest dumpster fire at the moment, but they all have issues, and
yeah.
you can see it. And let's be honest here. I don't really want to be on social media much anymore. No one does.
No, no. I
Yeah.
mean, I do like YouTube. I will say that I do
Oh
like
yeah,
YouTube,
YouTube's, yeah. No, like,
but
there are some that are good.
I think more as a viewer than an actual participant on YouTube. Like, because I mean, you're still chasing the algorithm on YouTube.
Absolutely, you still
But
are. Like,
as a participant watching the stuff on YouTube, especially the shorts. Honestly, I mean, the YouTube shorts are fun.
Well, but the YouTube Shorts again, that's the TikTok effect right
Yeah,
there. That's the TikTok effect. Instagram is my favorite for the shorts. Honestly, I like Instagram. I
oh,
think the
no,
best.
I do not like Instagram. It's not so much the platform because, the Instagram platform's okay. It's just the spammers have just invaded Instagram in droves over there, and you also
Yes, they
have
have.
those creepy stalker guys have decided Instagram is the place they're gonna stay, so
Well,
it
yeah, that would be because of also the only fans girls on Instagram, which there's a lot of. It's
yeah, but
gone both ways. Like
those creepy stalker guys, also stalk female horror authors over there,
oh really?
so I get a lot of it.
Oh okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. Did not know that was a
Oh, yeah,
thing.
that's a big thing. They used to be on Facebook, now they've moved to Instagram,
Okay, no, Facebook I knew. Facebook I knew about. Instagram, okay,
yeah.
okay.
So, yeah,
Um,
I mean, yeah, the creeps stalk the female authors over there a lot. I mean, but they're easy to spot, so you just block them.
yeah,
So,
but it's pain in the ass. No, I
yeah.
okay. So I'm gonna go. Like I think it's like again from an. I don't. I've rarely had that issue with me, so it kind of
Well,
goes.
you're a guy.
Well, no,
Sorry,
no,
I'm sorry, you are a guy. Guys do not get that a lot. I mean, I'm not saying they don't get it a lot because I mean, I have seen some guys complain about the porn bots and the porn girls.
yeah.
But, yeah, you don't guys don't get it as much as female
Well,
authors.
we just. I would say we get it differently. Like
Yeah, well,
you get the
it's more
hardcore stuff.
indirect maybe, because I mean,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
get it direct.
No. Like, we get you get the hardcore stock.
Mm,
We get the hey, like we get the hey, we'll do these things for you if you send us money shit all the time, right? So right, that it's just different. Like it's just a very different it's way of mode of attack. But I mean, it's yeah. Like I've never seen. No, the only time I've ever felt stalks was actually in the city in a bathroom downtown, watching a gentleman waiting outside my stall, like just doing things there. It just was creepy. That was the. I was like, wow, this is I never seen this before. I wasn't actually sure what to do about it because it was like
yeah,
that's a weird, you know. Yeah,
yes,
fair enough. Fair enough.
yeah, I mean, it's
Fair enough, Jack. Yeah, I cannot. Like I said, I like
yeah,
there is
it
no.
gets to the point where you hesitate every time a guy follows you,
Mhm.
and it's like, "Okay, are they legitimate or are they a stalker guy?" So, I mean, yeah, it's like so, I mean, you have to check their profiles, you have to check their followers. Are all their followers women? Off they go.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said,
Or
it's
all the people they're following, I should say, not followers.
like I said, it very like I said, it's a different mindset with me as a guy. I mean, look, have I followed a woman online because they're hot? Sure, I've done
Yeah.
it. Right? Is it the only? I mean, is it the only reason?
Yeah, I mean, but that's different. I mean, if you
Yeah.
see a nice profile and you like it, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I'm not complaining, but I mean, it's the guys that deliberately go and
Yep.
follow women just to follow women, and they collect them like little China dolls on their social media shelf.
Well, yeah, because they don't know how to talk to women.
Yeah. But
They,
I
that's
mean,
that's what.
that's not the way to do it, guys. I'm
I
just going to
know.
give you a tip here. Don't do that to women. Creeps them out. They're going to think you're weird. And this is why they don't talk to you. Be normal. This is my tip
No,
for the day.
yeah, hold on. I'm scheduled. I have another. I'm getting interviewed a little bit later today as well. So it's one of those. It's one of those days. I'm actually starting to do interviews again now on a regular basis. Because I'm walking away from this and doing other things. Well, I'm not walking away from this. I'm still like I just did an interview with a buddy actually at Fish Creek in Calgary, like just different cool places and seeing things and doing things. That's kind of what I'm into now. But I mean, as I'm wrapping this up, I'm actually doing interviews like, hey, there's my Patreon, check it out. Hey, here's my this, check it out. Yeah, look, going back to what you said about creating platforms for yourself here for a second, like it's the way of the future. It's the way of the past, ironically, but it's the way of the future. I think even no matter what new social medias and stuff are going to come out, I think the one thing I've learned from the last few years is you have to have your own place where people can find you. Otherwise, it could all just disappear,
Mm.
and then what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why all the sites and stuff recommend authors get a website
Mm,
because, you know,
yeah.
and I've even if you have to change your website, I mean, you still just you can move all the stuff over that you've already built for most cases. Because I mean, I've changed my website 4 times now, and once just the name. So
Yeah. No, it's yeah. I'm gonna probably have to build a proper website at some point because I did a producer's like portfolio on my page. I didn't realize this until I did this. I have actually produced 3 other shows on top of this one, and I just is like, oh, how did this happen? Oh
yeah,
yeah, right. Right? It's like,
yeah, it sneaks up on you. It's like I'm doing the intros to these, and I'm counting the things I'm doing. Okay, I've got merchandise that I do, art stuff, 3 shops over on Zazzle. I've got 2 shows that I host. I've got the author stuff. I've got my book graphics. I do my manuscript evaluations, and all that's over on Kofi. Um, I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but and then I got a new job. So I mean, it's all like it just accumulates, and you're doing things because it's like, oh, well, I've acquired this new skill. I may as well put it to use and make some money out of it. So
well, that's where I'm at. It's like, how much money can I make?
yeah,
That's where I'm at. Like, no, I like the biggest. So I'm doing well. This is the last one where it's collide in about a month, and I'm doing a talk called the freelance mindset. And the biggest and most important thing I'm talking about on that is ultimately this is a game of self belief. Ultimately, and this is about believing you can achieve stuff, and
yeah,
that's the real name of the game.
yeah. Because I mean, it shows. I mean, like with my art. I mean, a couple of years ago, I probably wouldn't have said I could open up shops and make art and do merchandise. Now I'm creating Art Nouveau designs and sticking them up on Zazzle. So I mean, just
I'm half tempted to actually start doing that too. I'm actually becoming a competent like drawer of pencil and paint and coloring.
yeah. But no, I end of last year I bought Affinity Designer and taught myself how to use it, and now I'm having lots of fun with it, making new designs, making original designs instead of just cobbling things together. From
Because again, that's where real money is. Like
yeah.
I'm not going to name the person. They were re-releasing one of their books. Like this was a book cover. It was terrible because it looked stock, it felt stock,
Yeah, I
and
mean, I use stock images to make my
oh
covers
sure,
too,
no, no,
but you gotta do something with the stock images. You just can't take them, put them on a cover, put some font up, and then say, "Oh, it's a cover." You have to add light, you have to add dimension, you have to make the font pop out. You have to have blend the colors together. That is the one thing that I see so much of is that on these stock photo covers. I'm ranting here, by the way, so
no. Yeah,
this is one of my pet peeves, because I do my own covers. So and I don't want to disparage anybody who does their own covers because I know it's expensive covers and they're doing their best. But you've got to match the colors. You've got to make the people on the cover, if you're doing 2 images like a background and people, you've got to blend them in so they look like they're not copy and paste. And you see that so often on covers where people don't do that because they don't know how to do it. And they're doing their best, God bless them, but it's not good enough to
okay,
sell a
so
book. I
there,
mean,
there,
it's good
there,
enough
there,
that they can do, but it's not gonna sell as many books as you'd like.
no, well, no. Again, this game's about not shooting yourself in the foot. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so when I do my put my Alice books into print, one of the things I'm going to fix is the lettering. The cover's amazing.
Mm.
but the lettering is terrible. And that's totally on me. That's totally on me on that one. That's why I didn't even do lettering on the second one. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I think the image, in that case, the image by itself will probably do a better job than me trying to put something on there that isn't good.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I know this. When I go to the physical version, I'm going to have to hire somebody to make a logo for me, right? Make a logo for me that ties to everything I'm doing, because that, but it's about but what it's really about is the care of investment you're putting into the work.
Yes.
And that's what I look for. Someone getting started, there's a difference. If someone's getting started and they come up with this janky stock cover, right? But they are literally just getting started, they're just breaking in, you get a pass. The person I'm talking to
Yeah.
has been published like forever.
Yeah, he should know better.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like, and when we pointed this out, I pointed out. He says, "Well, it's a relaunch, not a new launch. So I'm not playing. I'm trying to make it as cheap as I can." It's like, it certainly shows, right? And that was what I told them, because
But yeah, even though even with a relaunch or something, you can actually, I mean, there are a lot of pre-made cover sites that do good work.
yes.
I mean, Get Book Covers. I think it's Get Book Covers
Well,
is a good one, and they
yeah.
do. I mean, they're not going to hit it out of the park every time, but they do decent work.
Yeah. Well, no. Again, going back to what I say, it's that look of effort. If I'm comparing it to the original cover, and I have to be on par with the original cover.
Yeah.
But most importantly, this is just me. This guy's a publisher. So looking at what they're doing, right?
Yeah, I'm going to give that publisher a bit of advice here. If I'm an author looking to submit my work to a publisher and I see bad covers, you're going to go on the bottom of the list. I'm sorry.
Well, no, but that's the thing. That's
Yeah.
my whole point, right? It's not look, okay. Will that book do gangbusters? There's a chance, but probably not, right? But that's not it. If you're not going to invest in your own work the way you should, why would anybody else trust you?
Yeah.
Like, that's what it comes down to. And that means and again, it's different if you start I would talk about this. I'm talking like when you're starting off, you just do the best you can.
Yeah.
Like, and as you learn, you go. That's fine. Like, you know what, you're at a level you're at, you're gonna learn as you go. But there does come a point where you got to look in the mirror and say, you know what? You know, this is if I don't take care of me, who will?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, but even if you're starting out though, you don't have to just do it yourself. If you have a cover, you don't stuff it in an author group somewhere and ask, is this cover good? Where can it be improved?
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
they'll tell you.
Oh, no,
Sometimes they'll be
absolutely.
mean about it, but they'll tell you. But yeah, because I mean, I just seen a cover today. I'm not going to say what cover. In one of those mail out things that I get, and it's had a Pixabay cover because I've seen that photo on Pixabay dozens of times. It's been all over the internet in various graphics, and it had the worst font possible on it, and that's just not a good cover. Because I mean, Pixabay cover, okay, that could be a pass. I mean, people are going to say, yeah, it's very, but the fonts. That I mean, that's just it's just not. I mean, that's the one thing I see on book covers that really irritates me is bad font. Don't use those stupid, fancy, drippy fonts that nobody can read.
No, it's
Don't
because
do that.
because fonts are a trap. Have you ever gone
Yeah.
to font.com?
Probably. I've
Yeah,
been there.
yeah. You can spend hours there
Yeah.
because there are
I mean,
fonts for everything you can imagine.
yeah,
And the thing that, from an art standpoint,
they're pretty.
they're pretty, but they're not
They
all for
suck
you.
as book cover fonts, though.
Well, not
Well, not all of
always.
them.
No,
Not
well,
all
no,
of them.
no, no, no. That's not. I think
Yeah,
it's more
not
of
all
the.
of them. I mean, if they're okay, the thing you need with a book cover font is you need to be legible. If it's not legible, it needs to reflect the genre and it needs to be um, on target for what you want it to be. I mean, thin fonts for thin fonts, say for romance, or scripty fonts for romance, and but you don't want something that's going to look comic unless you're actually writing a comic book, like a
Mhm.
comical humor book.
So I look at this is how I look at fonts. You do this more. Most of what you're saying, the only exception to that is this is what I would tell the audience: world building stuff. You
Yeah.
need the cover to be legible, but you can also use fonts in clever ways.
Oh,
So
definitely.
like I'll give you a really fun example. Currently, I play Magic the Gathering. Right. So what they did that was really fun is because they had this Phyrexian invasion, they came up with this Phyrexian script. And what they did is some of the cards are actually the Phyrexian text.
Hmm.
Now, it's not readable. But for the purposes of world building,
Yeah,
it
but
fits perfectly.
I would say
Right?
it's not readable, but it's on brand, and that's different.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the last thing I'm gonna add. Your story, your world, this is where world building is actually super important, right? It's not so much when you're writing the story, it's when you're presenting it,
Mm,
right? Because when you present the story, that's where your world building truly shines.
yeah,
Video games and games taught me that, folks,
yeah.
and because that's how they use world building. They use it to up their presentation. I mentioned the Mad. There's other examples of this. In the case of fonts, if the font builds your world, yes. If the font's just pretty, no.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and yeah, but with book covers, you have to remember book covers are first and foremost
Hmm.
your first line of marketing.
Absolutely.
And so the fonts have to be on genre. The colors have to be on genre. The images have to be on
On
genre.
genre.
Everything has to be on genre. If it's off in any way, no matter how beautiful the cover is, you're not going to sell to your audience the way you want to sell to your audience.
Hmm. Exactly. No. It's true. It's true. And that again, those are decisions you have to make at the very beginning,
Mm.
right? So, yeah, maybe
Yeah,
do that research. It's like, what expectations are you wanting to fill? And if you are going to break any of those, why? Right?
yeah,
Why are you doing it? What's the payoff for it?
yeah,
Right? Because sometimes it's worth it, but you got
yeah.
to know,
I mean,
and
yeah, because I
that's
mean, yeah, that's the other thing with book covers. I mean, you want to be on genre, you want to be on brand, but you want to stand out too. So,
well, but that's the thing, right? So you
yeah,
got to understand. So this is the thing, like I mentioned, like that script as an example, right? It's a cool way to break the rules in a
mm,
way that makes it stand out. You have to do that on some level. You can take from other things to create that unique. My Alice, I'm gonna look at the Alice. Both my Alice covers both fit the brand, the genre I'm going for,
hmm,
right? But again, they don't completely fill those expectations either. But one of the reasons is by design, it's supposed to be a little different than what you typically. It's Wonderland, but
yeah,
not the Wonderland you expect.
yeah. But I mean, see that works because
Yeah.
you've got the brand,
Hmm.
and people are going to say, well, yeah, that's Alice in Wonderland, but it's kind of different
Yeah.
and it's
Exactly.
going to be intriguing. So that works. See, that's what a lot of I've seen this a lot with authors though. They don't understand how art works. They don't understand the
No.
dynamics of art. So they're trying to recreate the book on the cover. They're trying to recreate a particular scene on the cover, and it doesn't always work. Covers should be far more representational than most authors think
Or
it should be.
I to use a comic book dialogue, it's a moment. If you are
Yeah,
covering a story, it could be a moment in
mhm,
time in the story,
this is true.
which is totally acceptable,
Yeah, but
right? Or
it should be a simplified moment in the
oh,
story.
absolutely no, absolutely, it should be. But that's the thing. You don't want to put everything on the cover. You don't need to.
No,
What you need to do is with again, covers are about again, much like all
mm,
forms of storytelling. It's about expectations. You're making a promise to the reader. right at the very beginning. So the promise has to be a good one.
Yeah.
If you make that promise, now, again, the standing out trick, that's fine. Figure out your twist, but you're still, ironically enough, telling a story on the cover.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it good, at least in theory. And
Yeah.
also, I've been very, very fortunate in that the people I've worked with, right, have been phenomenal. Like, that's better than I've deserved. But I've taken the time to invest in that, whereas I think a lot of authors don't.
Mm.
And because again, this is the thing you have to again, folks. At the end of the day, you have to put the work. You have to invest in the work. That's on every level. Editing. If you don't know it, that's fine. Get professionals to do it for you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great people out there.
Yeah.
Miss Anita is one of them. So there you go. All right, there's a plug for you.
Yeah, but I mean, and it's like if you need the help, there's like authors in the author community. They're more than willing to help you.
Oh,
They'll
absolutely.
they'll point you to artists. They'll point you to discount places. They'll point you anywhere you want to go.
Yep, there's lots of experience out there and some great people out there. And it's a matter of asking questions, doing it like I said, But that particular individual, it's just like, would you publish with them? It's like, nope.
Nope.
My covers are better than yours, and that's not the only reason why. But this is more about you than.
Well, it says you won't make the effort for your authors, is what it says, basically.
Yeah. Because you won't do it for yourself, you won't do it for them, and that's what it comes down to. And I hate saying that because I actually like the individual, but truth is the truth.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, this business is all about perceptions in a lot of ways.
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes, I mean, and you're gonna have your good moments in it, and you're gonna have your bad moments in it, right? That's fine too. The secret is keep going. Apparently, someone has been trashing me on social media for I had them as a guest, and they wrote a nasty review about my show being all about me, and they gone on a buddy of mine. They went on a buddy of mine's show, and they trashed me actually on the show. So I've made it.
You've been trashed. You've made it. Yeah.
No, totally.
Yeah, that kind of attitude comes back and bites you in the ass too. So,
oh,
that's
you
not
learn.
professional at all. I mean, I had a bad interview. I'm not going to say with who, but yeah, it's like it happens. Move on.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Like we all.
And it wasn't with you, by the way. Just
oh no, you know what? Honestly, I didn't think the interview with them was bad. We just got into a very heated aspect of the discussion.
Yeah, I mean, well, no, it's not necessarily bad, but I'm just saying sometimes the interviews don't go the way you want. Like, I mean, technically, the interview I had with this person wasn't bad. It just was weird. Honestly, it was kind of odd because he really didn't do his homework or anything. And but anyway, but I mean, you just move on.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, not like I know I know this is hard for people to believe, but I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I have a casual conversation with people. Not everybody wants to have those casual conversations. I'm not your show. I also had to turn down. Like I had an opportunity. Like one of my people on my get list to interview. I had a chance to interview them this year for 10 minutes. I turned it down because it's not what the show does. I'm not going to have someone just come on here for 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
I don't care who it is, right? It's not what I do. If you don't have a ton of time, that's fine. I mean, I get that. I mean, then you're not going to come do my show either. And that's totally fair, right? I've worked with media. I did this, got in there through their publicists. I've worked with publicists in the past, and some are great, some are a pain in the ass, right? But I mean, it's I have a certain expectations. I mean, that's just it. Like, not every interview is going to go the way you imagined it. Not every guest is going to be who you imagine them to be. Not every person is going to be. It's not going to always come out like.
It's weird because sometimes you have a guest on, you think, oh, this is going to be great, and it's like pulling teeth to get the interview. And then sometimes, like there was a sci-fi author I interviewed from Czechoslovakia. and I was a little nervous about that, or whatever they call it these days. I forget. Czech Republic. Anyway, I'm old. I'm still working on old names. So
Czech
anyway,
Republic, whatever.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I apologize for getting the country name wrong, people, but I'm
Typically
old.
Canadian, right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's right.
Yeah. But anyway, I was a little nervous about interviewing him because I wasn't sure if there would be a language barrier or not. Anyway, and I wasn't sure what to expect. But it was one of the best interviews I ever did. So you never know. I enjoyed that one quite a bit.
No, so this year my favorite interview was not too long ago. Chuck Pennell came back on the show.
Hmm.
It was a total mental health conversation, right? He's been going through some stuff, and it was cool to actually have that because we ended up talking about music, and I talked about my secret origin and how I became a Taylor Swift fan. Right, that like that, like he laughed. It's like, oh, we have the same revelations. Like I secretly became a Swiftie, and he's like, no, okay, we don't have the same revelation, but it was like we ended up talking about music, and we ended up going into one of my favorite bands right now that I've been listening to again as I write is Jars of Clay, and I'm like, I really want new music from them. I legit do, and I'm like, I miss them, and because they write beautiful music, and we end up just talking about like authenticity. Like I really enjoyed that chat, and then again, there are some chats you go in there, and you're like, I don't know what to expect. I just don't like sometimes you just have a conversation. Sometimes you have a great conversation. Sometimes it goes off the rails in the best ways and in
Mm,
the worst ways.
yeah,
So
that was
that's
like
the
the horror panel we did. Oh, yeah, we ended up talking about the authors also writes erotica, and we were talking about horror eroticism, and then we were talking about the murder van, and 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 you don't get into the murder van and various and one of the authors. I totally get into the murder van just to see what it would look like inside.
yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah.
So yeah, we had an entire discussion about about the murder vans.
But those are the best
Yeah.
conversations, right? You don't want I've made like we've hardly talked. I mean, we've talked book stuff, but we've hardly talked about books in this
Mm,
conversation. And the reason is you're a much more interesting person. Like that. Let's just get to know you, right? That's always been my philosophy with the show. And sometimes we just talk books. I'm good with that too. But I mean, it is what it is. Um, all of which to say that honestly, you've come a long way. Like honestly, like you are probably one of the most determined people I've ever seen. You go in there, you kick ass, and you boy, no apologies. You just do your thing, and I'm glad for everything that's happened to you.
yeah. Well, I call myself stubborn more than
Yeah.
determined.
No,
Well,
you,
especially if you get me mad and say, "Oh, you can't do that."
yeah, I would not tell you
Then I
that.
get really stubborn.
Yeah, yeah, but no, you have a quiet determination and passion, and like so I put you and Katie Solitis in kind of the same category. Just you quietly kick ass, right?
Mm.
Katie's nicer. I think. I
Oh,
think.
yeah,
I
Katie's
think.
much nicer than I am.
Yeah. No. Katie is incredibly sweet. I think she. I think she terrified me more angry than you would because I would be
Oh,
such a
you've not
weird.
seen me angry yet.
No.
So,
No. No.
uh,
No. No. No.
I
But
can make
see.
Katie look like a little schoolgirl if I get really angry, trust me.
Oh, I see. It's the weird thing. See, this is the impression I got. I wouldn't want ever to mess with you. You would take no shit. She would let it go for a while, and then eventually she would just snap, right? And then I'd be dead, right? Right, that,
Yeah.
right, that. Like, I'm not sure who's more You is just like, nah, I
Oh,
don't
well,
even.
I'd be more dangerous if I killed you because nobody would ever find your body.
It's true. It's so true. It's so true.
I'm sorry. I've seen enough true crime shows that I could probably get away with murder. I wouldn't do it just for the fact that, there's a chance I wouldn't get away with murder and I'd end up in jail and I don't ever want to go to jail. But But I mean, I know all the things you're not supposed to do when you kill somebody.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
surprisingly, a lot of people are very stupid when they murder people. I mean, very stupid.
I have a theory
Exceedingly
about that.
so.
I have a theory about that. Do you want to hear my theory?
Yes,
I think most murderers secretly want to get caught.
possibly.
Yeah, that's what I think because there's a
I mean, a lot of them do confess. So,
well no like there's a
I
secret
mean,
there
eventually, when they get caught, they confess. Is what I mean.
yeah but I think see it's much like addiction.
Mm,
It's much like anything you do to yourself. There's that self destructive urge. We all have like these inner urges of we have like we want to die or we want to suffer or we feel we deserve some kind of whatever. But we don't go all the way. We always do it kind of a little half-assed, right? Maybe I have a suicidal tendency. So you know what? Instead of doing the knife thing, like slitting the wrist or whatever the case may be, I'm going to go to party and I'm going to drink. Like I'm going to drink to die every time I party,
yeah,
right? It's you're still killing yourself, but it's a lot slower,
yeah. People
right?
tend to indulge their self-destructive streaks in
Yeah.
slow
So
ways.
yeah. But the thing is, so what I think with murder is it's that indulgence, in a different way. I think deep down there are times like when you're a soldier in war and you're having to kill someone to survive. I think there's a guilt with that, but there's also it's I guess more honest in a sense when you actually just go the you're doing it to survive when you just kill somebody just because for whatever reason, maybe heat of the moment, whatever the case may be, you don't have any way to sleep at night for the most part, right? You make that decision. If you make that decision to protect somebody, that's one thing. But there's no other reason, there's no real good reason to do it. I think what tends to happen is deep down, when I've really wronged somebody and I know I've wronged somebody, I am a lot more vulnerable to my own wrongdoings, and I've I haven't done too many terrible things to people in this life, but when I have had to, I felt it. Like I knew I was in the wrong, and deep down, I just knew it, and I didn't resist things that like if I were in the right, I'd fight. In the wrong, I don't. So I kind of feel like that's what happens with a lot of murderers is it's not that they did their thing, but deep down, I think they know once they've done it. Oh shit, what have I done?
Yeah, in some cases, I mean, a lot of them, a lot of murderers, especially the shows I watch, the murderers tend to be a little more on the sociopath side, and a lot of them are narcissistic, and I think that's their downfall
All that, yeah, because
because
okay,
they think whatever they do, people will believe, even if it's stupid.
oh, sociopaths are the biggest dumbasses in the world.
Yeah,
They are. They honestly are. It's like, well, I don't have a conscience. You might want to learn how to make one because honestly, man, you're just dumb, right? Why did he punch me in the face? Well, look what you did. Like, look at what you did. I didn't do anything wrong. Yeah, you did. You did this, and they're like, oh yeah. Then they do the same thing all over again on something else. And you're like,
yeah,
how?
yeah. But I mean, honestly, though, I don't understand how a murderer can say, "Oh, well, she committed suicide, but her head's been bashed in and her throat's been slit." It's like, yeah, yeah, that's not suicide, people.
No. It's like, but again,
It's
people
just like
don't,
they're living in a little delusional world somewhere. So,
or it's like I did nothing wrong. If they're again narcissists and sociopaths,
mm,
they're a special category for like a discussion. I honestly think there's some of the dumbest people on the planet. That's just me,
yeah,
right? But that's just me.
yeah,
Some
that's why those TV shows where the serial killers are all brilliant and they're stalking the police. It's like, yeah, that's not realistic, people.
uh, by and large,
I mean,
there's
serial
exceptions.
killers serial killers tend to get away with it not because they're smart. I mean, some of them are. Some of them were. I'll give it. You know, but it's not because they're smart, it's because the nature of the crime is generally anonymous. Their victims are not connected to them.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest crime to solve.
Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah.
There's luck in everything too,
Mm,
right? There is a little luck in everything. It depends. It genuinely depends. There are some really successful serial killer. The quote unquote, yeah, like some people are there is a predator kind of killer out there. They are genuinely real, right? But right, they're the exception,
yeah.
not the rule.
Yeah.
And
And yeah, but I mean, with the Zodiac killer too, I mean, his crimes, they took place in the 70s, and the forensics is not as was not as good back then. So the evidence he did leave is harder to connect to a person. Um, I mean, the more the forensics expand, the harder it is to get away with things. Because I mean,
ye-
a lot of these cold cases are getting solved these days. And look at the Golden State Killer. The forensic genealogy finally caught him.
mm, but I mean, that's where we're at today. But again, there's how to say it. Like there again, most people don't really think through what they do,
Mm,
right? It's the details that kill them. And that's just the way it is. A smart serial killer,
yeah,
as rare as they are, um, factors a lot more of that stuff in,
yeah.
right?
I mean, well, that's the thing with the serial killers. The more they do it, the better they get at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, see, and that's a lot of times how they catch them too, is because some of the earlier crimes they got a little sloppier, and
Okay, no,
then they
again,
connect 'em. And again, a lot of times, like I said, they go over state lines, they go across country, and the crimes aren't necessarily always connected to each other either for a long time. So that's how they get away with it sometimes too. There's a lot of
yeah,
reasons.
yeah. I mean, luck does play a role,
Mm,
but there's again, it depends on the person. But like I said, by and large, I truly do believe this. For the most part, they want to get caught. Some right for the
yeah.
most part, right? They want to. Sometimes they're stupid, but for the most part, I think they want to get caught. That's maybe I'm a happy-go-lucky optimist there, but I mean, right?
Yeah, well, I would think your average murderer in some capacity wants to get caught because they have to keep digging themselves into holes with their lies, and it just compounds eventually.
Well, no, it does. I mean, it's also like drug addicts do want to stop. I
Yeah,
know no one sets out to become a drug addict, but there comes a point where you've gone down this rabbit hole so long you don't know how to get out anymore.
yeah,
But you're looking again. There are, and I'm obviously putting like murders a cry for help, but I think
yeah, yeah,
sometimes,
definitely. Like the woman who kept her husband's body parts in the
yeah,
plastic storage containers in her closet.
yep,
That's a definite cry for help there, and the head was in
lo-
a bowling ball bag.
well then, well then.
Yeah, that was one of the weirder true crimes I watched. That one.
It's like, okay,
Yeah,
that woman, it broke her when she killed him. It broke her in some way too.
yeah.
So
Well, she killed him to hide another crime, too,
yeah,
which is that one I don't get. That's happened quite a few times that women have killed their husbands because they've been embezzling money or they've done something else, and they've killed the husband to hide the thievery because he was going to find out,
yeah.
and then they get caught on the murder. So it's like, I mean, I know there's reasoning in there somewhere, but it's not logical at all.
No, it's well that I think we definitely agree. Not logical. Just like I fear of getting caught. I guess I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Missing.
a lot of it is. I think a lot of it is, the psychological. They've built the psychological persona of being who you are, right? A lot of people, that's their self worth. Like they're the upstanding citizen, and when people are when their crimes of being not being an upstanding citizen are in danger of being discovered, they they go to extremes to protect their identity.
It depends on where you live too. Like expectations in the community do matter,
Yeah,
right, and that's like someone like me doesn't care because I've lived everywhere, so nothing really. If I'm in your outsider, like little piece of the pie, cool. If you like me, cool. If you despise me, doesn't matter in one sense because it's just like I can't control that perception. But a lot of people like this is all they've known, right? Right? If this is all you know, it's scary to lose it,
yeah,
right? It's scary, and it's a very like I said, it's a very interesting slippery slope to fall into, right? And sometimes it becomes the worst kept secret, especially in a small town, like well, what you do. But at the same time, people will do a lot to keep their reputation and perception
yeah,
up. They will do
In-
a lot. Some
including murder.
including oh yeah no, absolutely I've seen some stupid stuff in the name of keeping a reputation up. It's actually one of my old mentors was really bad for that, and I, I, they were right about some of it, but at the same time the lengths of which they went and did that, just dumb. But that's another story for another day. Miss Anita, wrapping the show up here. I have to wrap it up because I have to do another interview. But before I go, honestly, good luck. You are, again, like I said, you're an incredible person. You're driven, you're passionate. And you'll say stubborn, but that's fine. Stubborn helps too. You need a little bit of that. But you're a great writer. I enjoy what I've read of your stuff so far. And I think you still got I think your best days in this are still coming. And I think that's an awesome thing. So good luck to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what would you like to plug?
Well, I just released the second short story in my Hayward and Anderson steampunk paranormal detective series, Shadow and Scarlet, and those are just short stories. But I do have one coming up in October called Fairy Tales and Nightmares, which is the sort of sequel to this one, Visions and Nightmares.
Oh, the one I have? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, and
Yeah.
this one it's the same premise. Stories told from female protagonists, only this one's set in fairy tales. So I basically took fairy tales, I retold them through history and horror, and a lot of them came out very interesting. Especially the Snow White tale. That one went
Oh,
off the
oh,
rails to where I was planning it to go, but it
oh
went
my
off the
God.
rails in a
So,
good
so
place.
folks, I'm gonna post this up right now. Give me a second here as I
Yeah.
get this
So
up.
the first cover teaser for Fairy Tales and Nightmare will drop on my blog on July 10th, and you'll see
Oh,
just a teeny tiny bit of the
I'm just doing this right now. So
yeah.
for constant reference, folks, go to this one. I read this one. I love the Alice in Wonderland one, but this was a very
Oh
murdery
yeah.
collection. Very
Oh
murdery
yeah. But
collection.
there's the second collection is going to be just as murdery. But yeah. Don't hold hope out for the prince's people because the princes are going to bite the dust. Yeah, there's no happily ever afters. There's dead princes. There's actually a serial killer in it too. Because I retold the Bluebeard tale. If anyone knows the Bluebeard, you know Bluebeard.
I know Bluebeard, yeah.
Yeah, I retold that one. I mean, I
Oh,
had to. I couldn't
okay.
do a horror fairy tale without doing Bluebeard. So, and I
Uh,
actually did Red Riding Hood, which is one of the stories I really hate. I really hate the Red Riding Hood fairy tale,
my least favorite
but I
one's Snow
found an
White.
interesting twist for that one. So
My least favorite one's Snow White because after a
I also
while,
found it. I also found it interesting too, because it's not Snow White's story anymore. The way I wrote it, I wrote it from
no,
the Wicked Queen's perspective.
no. So okay, so I'm gonna spoil the grim fairy tale version of this.
Yeah,
Snow White's an idiot.
yeah.
Like the queen literally tries to kill her no less than like 4 times. And you would think after the first one, you kind of give her a pass. Okay, you know what? You're not expecting someone to come up in disguise, and it takes a certain kind of psychopath to do that. But when they do it again and again and again, that they tried to drown her, I think, one time. They tried to hang her one time. It's been a while since I've read the story. It's like Snow White's dumb, like
Yeah.
dumb,
Yeah. Well, my
right?
Snow White's more innocent than dumb, and let's just say she gets a bit of revenge going to at the end of the story. So yeah, I mean, but
Okay, that's fine.
it's all told from the Wicked Queen. It's set in feudal Japan. I rewrote the story from in feudal Japan, so it's all like samurais and samurai wives and stuff like that. Anyway, and it's all told from the Wicked Queen. Only she's wife of the samurai in the story, but the Wicked Queen's point of view.
Okay, so Jag, who you thanking? Sorry on that one. Just curious, me or her, because we both did that rant. So, but Field Japan, that sounds like a lot of fun. Like it's cool. It's cool to reimagine them. Where can people find your blog so you can get all this information?
That's on my website, afstewart.ca.
They gave me an award for this, Anita. They gave me an award for this. Did I do it?
Yeah,
All right.
I think that's it.
Woohoo! And,
But yeah,
I'm glad. I'm glad. So, Anita, good luck. Starting you next level of your career. You've earned it. Keep kicking butt. All right. And
okay.
thank you. Oh, and one last thing. Thanks for your support. You have been I don't know what I did exactly, but you've been supporting me quietly the whole way, and I really appreciate that.
Well, I enjoyed the show.
No, it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I enjoy the show, and you can thank Joe for pointing me in your direction. So,
All right, Joe Compton. Thank
yeah.
you very much, buddy. All right, folks. So this is how I'm going to wrap this bad boy up. So if you want to know where the Just Joshing podcast is going to go post episode 1000, and in fact, I can tell you it'll be from episode 1007 on, you can go here right now. I'm on patreon.com right now. $5 a month, American, will get you access to all your shows. Now, I'm actually figuring out the concept of how to do this. It's all right there. $1 will give you access to my story, Corey the Night Witch. Jag, in particular, will probably be really excited for that because she's been alpha reading it. Right? Thank you. No worries. Right? So definitely check out the Patreon. Check out the Patreon if you want to support what I'm doing. If you just want to read the novel stuff I'm doing, yes. See, there you go. It's been hilarious. Yeah, she literally read. I sent her about 30,000 words. She read it in like a night. So I was like, I must have done something good.
Yeah.
So, right. But anyway, that'll do it for this week's episode of Just Joshing. As I'm counting down on the episodes, next week I got already 3 guests, amazing guest line. I'm hoping to get one more before the week's up. I start with one of my oldest guests from the first 100 episodes. Actually, is coming back next week. Yeah, sure. Okay, sure. But for everybody watching, everybody listening, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. Right? Action dies. Okay. No idea. Anyways, stay inspired. Keep shining in the dark. I'll see you guys next time.
Bye.